Hey guys, it's me Kevin and I'm back with another AFL video and I'm back on this channel. So today I'm making an AFL ladder prediction video. Because the AFL, it's just around the corner. It's going to be out in like 2-3 weeks time-ish. Anyway, let's get started. Number 18, West Coast. Wait, did I just say that out loud? Number 18, Gold Coast. It's pretty easy to say why Gold Coast would be last. I mean, at the end of the day, they've lost pretty much all their talent with the exception of David Swallow and maybe a few others. But they've got the youngest list in the competition. Yes, they've drafted well. They've done a few recruitments, but they're very inexperienced. And yeah, Tom Lynch and Stephen Mayhurt leaving really hurt them a lot. I mean, and it's not just them. They've lost so many players like Charlie Dixon, Jager Amira, Gary Ablett. The list goes on. I mean, there was hope in 2014, but I think the Suns, they're just too inexperienced and they're going to start from square zero, essentially. 17th, St Kilda. They had a bad recruiting period. I mean, they're already a struggling side, and then you don't recruit well. They didn't get much draft picks apart from Max King, but okay, I know you could say about Dan Hanbury that he was probably a star recruit, but I mean, he hasn't been the same player since 2016 Grand Final. The Saints haven't recruited well, and bottom line, they're going to have another very struggling season. So, not too far behind St Kilda is Carlton. Now, the difference between the two sides is that Carlton actually had a good trade period and draft. I mean, they picked up the first pick of the draft, which is Sam Walsh, and he seems like he's going to be a pretty good player for the next decade. But, Liam Stocker, if Carlton are going to if Carlton are going to give up their first draft pick for next year, okay, I know they get Adelaide's first round pick, but Adelaide's going to be far higher than Carlton. Well, at least according to this prediction anyway. So, if they're giving up their first round pick to a team that's going to finish way higher than them, it's not like training with the Bulldogs or anything, it's Adelaide. Yeah, Carlton have to be confident with Liam Stocker. Anyway, they've also recruited well, getting people like Will Setterfield, Alex Vasolo, and others. So, in my opinion, Carlton may do better than St Kilda. 15th place, Western Bulldogs, which I just mentioned. There's going to be quite a big gap between them and Carlton. Because Carlton and St Kilda, they'll be close to each other, and Gold Coast, they'll be close. There's going to be a bit of a gap between the Bulldogs and Carlton, but I think the problem is with the Bulldogs, they haven't improved. Their trade period, yeah, I'm not sure what to say about it. But the whilst other teams have improved, the Bulldogs haven't. So, yeah. I think Bulldogs will be in 15th place because there'll be far too many other teams they're going to have to try and compete with, and I think they'll be on the worst end out of it. So, in 14th place is Fremantle. Now, I'm tipping him in 14th for like the third straight year. I mean, they've got Jesse Hogan, Rory Lobb, and a few other recruits that will be handy for them. But, in my opinion, well, their midfield is a little bit weak right now. Like, how many times does Stefan Hill have to get injured? And I don't think Harley Benner will play much at all. If he even does. Just sack him at the end of the season, really. Just delist him. I mean, their midfield, and Aaron Sandlands is not the ruckman he used to be, so I can't see Fremantle finishing better than 14th. Besides, they have a really bad track record away from home, so I can't really see Fremantle finishing higher than 14th, really. So, number 14, this is a very, very, very controversial decision. And number 14 is Collingwood. Yeah, they had an easy fixture. They only made the grand final due to their fixture. Nathan Buckley had a fluke. Yeah, no, and they're going to be stung by that 5-point loss against West Coast. You know, they're just crap in general usually. Alright. I'll stop with the jokes. Alright, let's just go back to the video. Alright, 13th place for real this time, and it's Sydney. Why I'm putting him as low as 13th is, well, I mean, they're way too reliant on Lance Franklin. I mean, there aren't many scoring options in Sydney's forward line apart from him, really. So, basically, what does every Sydney midfielder do? Kick to Franklin. But guess what every opposition player will do? Mark up on Franklin, because they know all the opposition players are going to kick to Franklin, so they're going to man up on Franklin, and, well, before you know it, Franklin won't be able to kick as many goals because there'll be too many people manning up on him. That's first. Second, they're old. Like, Sydney, I mean, they're really old, and they cannot play at the SCG for some reason. That's their home ground. I mean, you just look at the way they played there last year, and their midfield, it's getting old. I mean, I think there'll be a big downward spiral for Sydney because, yeah, their team is just old. I don't know how else to describe it. And their young talent doesn't seem to be continuing what Sydney has done in the last few years. I don't know. So, in 12th place is Port Adelaide. They are really inconsistent. That's the problem with this team. I mean, they play really well some games, really bad other games. I can't see them making the top 8 if they're going to be that inconsistent. I mean, they look like they were going to make it last year. They look like they were going to be in the top 4. And then they lost 6 out of the last 7 games. I don't know what the heck happened there, but, I mean, things like that, it just... And besides, I think losing Jared Polek, Chad Wingard, Jasper Pittard, and others hasn't helped the cause for Port Adelaide either. Yes, they've got Ryan Burton, but I mean, yeah, and Scott Lysett, but I'm not sure if they had a really good trade period. I think they could probably have quite a bit of talent from their young players, but they're really inconsistent, and I think it'll take a few years for them to become a really good side, really. 11th place, a team that's on the rise will go to Brisbane. Well, I think they'll be in the top 12 is because, well, for one, they've got good young talent. I mean, they've demonstrated that through the NEFL. They've won a premiership, and they made the top 4 last year again. So, they've got a lot of young talent coming together nicely. On top of that, well, I mean, they played some really good footy last year. I know they only won 5 games. The thing is, another 5 of those, they only lost by less than a goal. So if they could close off their tight ones and learn how to finish off close games properly, they have no reason why they can't win about 10 to 11 matches. Probably even 12. I don't think they'll make the top 8 yet. They're not that type of side, but I feel they're going to be a team that will be exciting to watch. 10th place, a team that will be falling, Geelong. I was on the fences about this side. I wanted to put him in the 8, then I wanted to put him in the bottom 6, and then, well, you know, it was bouncing him back. I think with Geelong, they've still got a really good fortress at GMHBA Stadium. Not many teams can beat them there. So, apart from Sydney, and they're not going to be playing all that well this year. So, they've got 8 to 9 wins there. I don't think they'll be good on the road, however. Thing is, they've still got people like Joel Selwood, Patrick Dangerfield, Gary Ablett, Tom Hawkins, and others that play really well. And whilst the problem with Geelong, they don't have a lot of young talent as of right now. That's the problem. And their players are getting old. I don't think they're as bad as Sydney because they've got a bit more talent compared to them, but I don't think Geelong will make the top 8, really. I think they'll be in contention for it, but they will miss the 8. In 9th place is Hawthorn, and part of the reason is because they've lost Tom Mitchell, who gathered, well, at least a quarter to a third of the team's midfield possessions. I mean, and disposal counts and all that crap. Well, you can't replace a reigning Brownlow medalist. That's the problem. And I feel that last year Hawthorn were reliant on Mitchell to an extent. I mean, I'll just cut that out. Yeah, I'll just cut that out. Well, what can I say next? Oh, yeah. Also, last year, they also made the top 4 because they had a really easy draw. Demonstrated how they couldn't play finals, losing both of their finals matches. So, it just shows how much an easy draw can change their ladder. No. Alright, let's try that again. Go. Also, the thing is, Hawthorn had a really easy draw, and they were flat track bullies to an extent. Not completely, but to an extent. Demonstrated how they lost to Richmond and Melbourne in the finals and got out on straight sets. That just shows you how much an easy fixture can help a team out in the normal season. This year, Hawthorn, despite having an easy start to the season, will have a harder draw in general, which means that I think Hawthorn will be losing quite a few more games. So, number 8 is the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Okay, I don't know why I did that in that accent. Anyway, so why I think North Melbourne will come 8th is they've got quite a bit of talent on their side. They've been through their mini rebuild, and they'll be exciting, particularly at Marvel Stadium. Their culture is starting to develop nicely. There isn't a lot to say about North Melbourne, but they've also got... I know they've got a harder draw compared to last year, but they've still got a relatively easy draw which they can make the top 8 in. And particularly if they play well in Blundstone Arena, which they've actually got another match there, so they've got 4 matches instead of 3 from last year. So that's an extra match which North Melbourne can win because they play very well there as well. So keep the home ground advantages up, and North Melbourne, they'll be in the top 8. Simple as that. 7th, who will have to rely on, in my opinion, the last game of the season to get into finals, is GWS. They're going to be an inconsistent side, but they've still got quite a bit of talent on their list, such as Stephen Cornelio, Josh Kelly, Jacob Hopper, and others. They've got quite a bit of young talent as well, which would be developing nicely. In my opinion, GWS are still bound for a top 8 side. Yes, I don't think they'll be getting anywhere in the finals, but I think you should say that they should at least have a final spot. They're pretty good at the Sydney Showgrounds, so yeah, I still think GWS, because they're in a situation where West Coast were in last year. But, no, I don't think GWS are going to be as lucky as West Coast were. But although I'm saying if they do win the premiership, which I'd like to see happen, then I wouldn't be surprised. But on paper, I think there's other teams that'll be better. Like Essendon in 6th spot. Dylan Shield. I mean, come on. You've got Dylan Shield now. You've got, what's his name? Devon Smith and Jake Stringer from last year. Now surely Essendon should be on the rise this year. Now, I mean, they were very good at Marvel Stadium last year, which is the new name for Etihad Stadium. If they have a good start to the season, then there's no reason why they shouldn't be high on the ladder. Because the thing has stuffed them up in both 2017 and 18, although 2017 they were actually lucky to make finals in that case, was the way they started the season was substandard. In both cases, Essendon were trying to rush to make the finals. One year they're lucky, one year they won't. So if they start off well, which I think they will, then they should be a top 6 side. Not just top 8, top 6. 5th place is Collingwood. I think they'll drop off a little bit. I think there'll be some mental demons in their mind from last year's 5-point loss to the Eagles. Yeah. They'll still be relatively good, but their fixture is quite hard. I mean, they play the Eagles twice. Okay, that's obvious. They play the Eagles twice. But gone to Optus Stadium, and then the fact that West Coast have been beating Collingwood at the MCG like twice last year, and you know, West Coast, well, they're going to get used to the MCG now that they're playing at Optus. So, I mean, they just won the premiership because of it. So, yeah. And then there's teams like where they have to play GWS at Spotless, Sydney at the SCG, although I don't think they'll play well. Collingwood have never performed well at the SCG either. So, I think that'll be one of the upsets of the season, actually, Sydney beating Collingwood. Yeah, I feel there's just some parts of the fixture where Collingwood may fall to pieces. Oh, and Adelaide against Collingwood, that'll be another one. Then they also have to play Richmond, which I think wins will be split. Melbourne and Essendon. So, yeah, the double ups aren't the easiest either. So, don't expect them to... Don't be surprised if they fall out of the top 4. So, number 4th place, Melbourne. Some people predict them to win the premiership. In my opinion, they won't. I mean, they're still a little bit young. Not much, but I feel they've still, they don't have as much experience as the next 3 teams I'm about to say. And particularly losing Jesse Hogan, that will hurt Melbourne quite a bit. Also, if they're playing Collingwood twice, Richmond twice, and West Coast twice, again, that may put them on 2 fences a bit. Yeah, what I'm saying, they may not win all 6 of them. Maybe split 3 and 3, I'm not sure. Melbourne will be a very hard side to beat next year, but I do feel that the next 3 teams I'm about to say are even better than Melbourne. 3rd place. Now, let me say this correct this time. West Coast. West Coast. Okay, good, I said it. Because I remember when I was, the West Coast Collingwood jokes weren't actually intended. I accidentally said West Coast during a blooper when I was meant to say Gold Coast instead. And then I thought, well, you know what? Let's just pick on the 2 grand finals now I'm at it. So then I decided to make the segment about Collingwood. Yeah. Anyway, so 3rd place, West Coast. One of the things that'll hurt them is that they still have to go down to the category, which they don't play well at. SCG, which they don't play well at, even though the 2 home sides there are going to drop off, but West Coast don't play well at neither of them, so I hope now that they're at Optus Stadium they could play better. No, GMHBA will be worse because dimensions. They play Richmond at the MCG and Adelaide at Adelaide Oval, which won't help. And the other thing that could stuff West Coast up is injuries. They haven't had the best off-season with injuries, I'll say that. And, yeah. Apart from that, if West Coast can just put those things aside, I've noted the bad things about it, but if West Coast should just push it aside, they should have a very good season. They've got a good fortress up at Optus Stadium. I wouldn't be surprised if they go undefeated there, although they've got to be careful against Essendon and they don't have that stuff up again, one team which they don't play well against. But apart from that, they should be very good at Optus Stadium. They've got a lot of talent, both young and old. Look at Willie Rioli, Lewis Jetta, Liam Ryan, high-flying Ryan. And I hope West Coast can make it 2 in a row, because if you know me, I'm a West Coast supporter. Although I actually like Fremantle, so I'm a dual WA supporter. Although I have a preference over the Eagles. But, yeah, I think West Coast will be flying high this season. Well, not with the premiership, but I think they'll be in the top 3 again. So, 2nd place is Richmond. One thing that will stuff them up is that, well, their bad record outside of home. They don't play well interstate, and I'm expecting them to lose to GWS and Port Adelaide. And they may also lose to Collingwood as well if they have a repeat of the way they play in the prelim. Apart from that, Richmond will be very hard to beat at the MCG. I don't think they'll go undefeated again. I don't think they'll go, well, undefeated until the prelim. But I don't think they'll go undefeated again. I think Richmond will lose a few at the MCG and maybe Marvel if they're playing away from a home crowd. But I expect Richmond to play strong and win 90% of their games in Victoria. And they've actually still got an easy interstate run. They're playing Fremantle and Gold Coast. So that'll be easy to win. Oh, yeah, they also play Adelaide away from home. That they will lose. But, the Fremantle and Gold Coast, they should easily beat those 2 sides. So, in my opinion, if they have a consistent season, they should win about 16 to 17 games. They've got one of the most talented sides, both forward, midfield, and back. They've got the whole package. It's like West Coast. essentially. Now, the team with top isn't like that. I'll tell you why I've put them on top. But, Richmond, I think they're going to have a pretty good season. Number 1, Adelaide. Yes, why am I putting a team like Adelaide up in first after the season they had? Yes, you'd expect them to bounce back into the top 8, but not first. But, I mean, mate, just look at their fixtures. I mean, if there's anything bad about a talented side getting struck by injuries and falling all the way down to a low finish, is that the next year they get an easy fixture. Hopefully they get all their injuries resolved, and they play a full-strength team with that easy fixture all the way back to the top of the ladder. Look at it. They play Gold Coast twice and St Kilda twice. That's 400 points in terms of margins there already in those 4 games. And they play Port Adelaide and Geelong twice, who they usually play pretty well against. And particularly that both teams would be dropping off in the next year. Adelaide should be 8-8 in that case. 9-10 actually, because the only time I think Adelaide will lose against a team they play twice will be West Coast the second time. Because let's face it, West Coast aren't going to be as good at Adelaide Oval, considering they're not playing at Domain anymore. So, yeah, I think Adelaide will be able to beat West Coast the first time. Then they have a relatively easy draw outside of that. They play Richmond at home. They play Collingwood at home. They play Melbourne not at the MCG. I mean, it's at Darwin. They generally play pretty good in Darwin as well. I mean, you just take all these... Not Alice Springs. They play crap there, but Darwin. You just take all these things into consideration, and Adelaide have no reason not to come first next year. I hope you like this video. Please give it a thumbs up. Please comment what you think down below. No backtrashing, no rude comments, please. Just respectful comments. You can say your opinion if you want, but I mean, don't go saying, "Oh, Kevin, you're wrong, you're idiotic." You know what I mean? Don't do that, okay? Just if you want to say your opinion, say it. Anyway, please subscribe if you like this video, and stay tuned for more AFL videos and Australia videos in general. I'll see you later.